Hello and good morning. I'm very pleased to have you join us. We're going to wait for some people to join the session. And whilst we do that, I will just introduce myself. I am Amy Copeland from ICB. I'm the Director of Communications. So I cover things like events, content in the newsletter, some membership benefits, and also the digital offerings. So things like the website. And so, yeah, now you know my name. So if you want anything like that, if you've got ideas for events or content, please do get in touch with me. I'm also joined today by Lucy Brown, who is ICB's Director of Professional Standards. Good morning, Lucy.
Good morning, Amy.
Lucy was herself a practicing bookkeeper, and so is Paula Vesey-Smith, who is our last panelist. She is head of the Advisory Council. Good morning, Paula.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, head of the Advisory Council, but still a member in practice. So hopefully I've got lots of tips and suggestions to help you either start your journey in bookkeeping or get you the next step along the way.
Now, I mentioned that Paula is head or officially chair of the Advisory Council, but in this month's newsletter, which is coming out today, you will discover that we're actually some of the seats on the Advisory Council are up for re-election. So do please pay attention to that if you're interested. The Advisory Council is a group of members that is voted in by members, and they are there to represent your views and forward those to the ICB's executive team of staff. So a really, really crucial part of ICB's organisation. Now, I think that's probably all of us who are going to join us today. Good morning. Good morning, Suzanne Proctor. Hello. We've got about 65 people booked on today's event, and only about 18 of you are full members of ICB. So that's really interesting. What I would love is to make sure that today we get all of your questions answered. This event is absolutely about you if you are considering starting your business and being licensed by ICB. So you can use the Q&A in the bottom of the screen if you've got any specific questions you want to ask. But I would also encourage you, if there are any key areas that you've got questions on, will you just pop them in the chat? If there's anything that you've got burning inside you that you want us to cover today, please pop it in the chat. Or failing that, just say hi. That's also appreciated. Hi, Kate. Hi, Lillian. Hi, Alina. We are absolutely the home of self-employed and practicing bookkeepers here at ICB. It's completely our focus, and it's something we've been supporting people to do for over 25 years now. We actually turned 25 in November last year. We were set up because we felt that bookkeeping was a distinct profession in and of itself, and that bookkeepers deserve recognition for their great work. And today that is only ever more true. We've seen something like a 50 times increase in the number of bookkeeping practices in the UK. So that's companies that are using the bookkeeping SIC code when they register. And so there's roughly around 7,000 bookkeeping businesses in the UK that are either registered for PAYE or VAT. So obviously there may well be many more bookkeeping practices that don't fall into those brackets. And ICB, we are the leading supervisor of bookkeepers, and we license around 3,500 bookkeepers. And when you become a self-employed bookkeeper, or you set up your own limited company to offer bookkeeping services to clients, you become part of the regulated sector. So bookkeeping is a regulated profession, and you are then governed by the money laundering regulations. So I'm very pleased that we're going to have Lucy Brown discussing that in more detail later on. But the bookkeepers, like accountants, have a very crucial role in protecting the economy from illicit finance. And it is just one of the many things that you will be relied on to do when you're running your own business as a bookkeeper. So bookkeepers have never been in more demand. The latest raft of Making Tax Digital, which is part of HMRC's broad project to digitalise the tax system, and Making Tax Digital for income tax and self-assessment is coming in over the next couple of years. And that means that around 4 million people running their own businesses are going to have to start filing digitally for the first time. And that's not just once a year. There's also 4 points during the year you have to do quarterly returns using accounting software. Now, the bookkeepers we're speaking to think that have actually said officially it's a once in a lifetime opportunity for bookkeepers, whereas a lot of accountants are going to find it quite difficult to service those smaller clients. And what we tend to find is that bookkeepers have a fantastic approach to working with clients and supporting them, no matter what their size. And so there is really a fantastic opportunity for you if you're thinking of setting up your own business, and for our existing bookkeepers as well. I've just heard from Sam. He says he has his practice license and has set up his website, got business cards and letterheads, but he doesn't know what to do next. Fantastic. Thanks for letting us know, Sam. I'm sorry, I've assumed you're a man. But Sam, they are looking for help setting up their business and doing that kind of marketing piece, sort of practice building bit. Well, you're very lucky because Paula will be helping you with that a little bit later on at the end of the webinar. And Kate or Katek is concerned about technology. So that's fantastic. ICB is obviously a supervisor, and we will license you as is legally required if you want to run your own business as a bookkeeper. But we're also here to support you and provide guidance on all things from how to comply with the money laundering regulations, but also things like what technology to choose and how to find clients. So once you've got your practice license, there's loads of information on the website about those key areas. But one of the best things you can do is attend ICB events. So we've got technical webinars every month for qualified members. So there's one on payroll. There's one that covers all of the government updates that might be relevant to bookkeepers. That's pretty useful. And then there's also a sort of technical deep dive on something like cash sales or cash transactions or something like that, to just give you a little bit more of an in-depth deep dive into areas that we find are quite often coming up for our practicing members. So loads and loads of events of that nature. We also have 2 big events a year. One is the Inspire Tour, which is just finished, which is in person and online. And we go to various parts of the UK. And then we also run the Bookkeepers Summit, which is the only large scale event that's dedicated to bookkeepers. So there's loads of events that are for bookkeepers and accountants. This one is absolutely all about you. So this year, that's on the 7th of November, which is a Monday. It's in London at a lovely hotel called the Park Plaza, Westminster. So if you're standing at the hotel, you can actually see Big Ben and the Houses of Parliament, and it's a lovely part of town. And we will be having a parliamentary breakfast the day after, just to continue the celebrations. So it's going to be a really lovely event. And that I mentioned because one of our in the chat saying that you're looking for help with technology. So we've got lots of exhibitors there, the likes of, the big guys, Sage, Free Agent, Xero, Intuit QuickBooks, and they will be exhibiting. And so you'll have a chance to meet them face to face, have a little demo, or sign up for a later demo if you want to, and also hear about their plans for the future, because we do also get them to share their thoughts and their insights on the main stage as well. So a fantastic exhibition for anybody looking for new software or new tech, because that can be a really critical component of your business. So in order to get a practice license with ICB, you need to achieve full membership. So with that, you get the designation MICB after your name. And some of our attendees today have also got PMDIP after their name as well, because we have payroll qualifications. So if you're running payroll as a practicing member, you'll probably have the signatory letters MICB, PMDIP. Now, our qualifications are targeted and tough. And we do pride ourselves on having fairly high pass marks. But if you have yet to find yourself a course, we would recommend you take a look at the website, because there are lots of training providers that we recommend on there. And if anyone's got a great training provider, pop that in the chat so that everyone can find out. Now, our level 2 and 3 qualifications are the core basis of our syllabus now, and it's those that you need to pass or show evidence of competence in order to get that full membership of ICB. Now, we are a little unique amongst other supervisors and professional bodies in that you can apply for exemptions from those qualifications based purely on work experience. You can also apply for exemptions based on other qualifications you may have taken in recent years. So there's lots of information on our website about that exemptions process, but I would also recommend you call us if you've got any questions about that, because we would firmly encourage you to give us a call and see if you've got any comparable skills or qualifications that would count against our exams. If you're going to take the exam route, the first stage to taking an exam is registering as a student. And then the first stage to applying for a practice license is completing the level 2 and 3, which is a total of 8 exams, and then becoming a full member and applying for the practice license. So the thing that we always set out to do at ICB was to make our qualifications as accessible as possible. So whilst we've got these very high pass marks of 85%, we don't put any other barriers in there. So we don't have prerequisites from the very beginning. So you can take the first exam whenever you're ready, as long as you're a registered student. And then we also don't prescribe when you can take your exams. So all of our exams are available online and on demand. So once you're a registered student, you can literally take your first exam straight away if you want to, if you're ready. So just let me know in the chat, is there anybody out there who's actually undertaking exams as we speak? I would love to know about your experiences on those. They're quite tough. And actually what we do, we've got a very broad range of skills that we pack into that level 2 and 3. So not only are you going to be able to do work for sole traders, you can also work with limited companies and partnerships, and also small charities and trusts, because there are so many small charities and trusts out there who need help from a good bookkeeper. And we also hear a lot about bookkeepers who start off finding their clients in, somebody described it as the playground network, as if it's like a formal thing. The playground network is obviously a great place to meet potential new clients if you're ever finding yourself at the school gates. And also potentially you might be volunteering for your schools, doing the school treasurer job as well. So there are lots and lots of great ways to find clients and extend your network. And I'm sure Lucy will touch on any sort of requirements that you might need to consider regarding that. What I would just say is that, oh, hi, Keith Elliott's here. Hello, Keith Elliott. Keith Elliott is obviously just checking that we're doing a good job here. Keith Elliott is in Scotland, and he is the branch chair of the, I'm going to say Aberdeen branch. Is that correct? Yes, great. Hello, Keith. So Keith is doing level 4. Fantastic. So the level 2 and 3 is a core component of becoming a member of ICB. And we say that that is the minimum requirement for somebody who wants to run their own business. And we also have the level 4 qualifications available if you want to progress your learning and you want to provide slightly more specialized skills. So the level 4 has 4 different modules, and you can pick and choose one or any of those that you wish to take. So you really can design your own qualification if you want to. So that covers corporation tax returns for businesses, self-assessment tax returns for the self-employed and sole traders, and also any directors who have to file a self-assessment tax return. And then we've got final financial statements, it's called, which is filing accounts at Companies House. And then a fantastic one called Business Insight, which in days of yore was probably called something like management accounts, but it's about providing that, that added value service to clients and really helping them understand their figures and use them to help their business grow. What we find is that bookkeepers are absolutely a trusted and very vital part of the economy, because they are right in the very weeds, I suppose, of the business, and they know everything about the figures and can really help businesses succeed. A lot of business owners don't have the time to do their own books, as you will know and love if you're a qualified bookkeeper, but that is never going to change. And what we're hearing is that the age of businesses being set up is coming down. So the average business startup is actually being run by people under 30 now. And these are the kinds of business owners that they want to be involved in their accounts and they want to be using computerized software. So they're absolutely ready for making tax digital for ITSA. And there's a lot of advertising telling them that computerized software is easy. And in fact, these are the people who probably more than ever are going to want to collaborate with a qualified professional such as a bookkeeper. So what I would say is there's more demand than ever, and you are really joining a fantastic and time-honored profession. And bookkeeping really could be the correct solution for you if you're looking for something that is in demand, scalable, and potentially flexible as well. And don't worry if you've never done bookkeeping before or you've never run your own business before, because we help around 20 to 30 people start their bookkeeping business every month. And the majority of you are absolutely new to bookkeeping and potentially have come from a completely different career. So whether that applies to you and you're a career changer, or whether you're a dyed-in-the-wool bookkeeper, or your parents were bookkeepers, or you're just looking for something to fit in around the rest of your life commitments, your family, people you look after, and maybe your other job, bookkeeping really could be a fantastic career for you. And we are delighted that you've joined us today so that we can help you on your journey towards achieving your dreams, no matter what they are. With that, I think I'm going to hand over to Lucy, who will give you a little bit more information about the things you need to consider as a bookkeeper. And thank you ever so much, Yasmin, for telling us that you're currently studying the level 3. That is brilliant. And yeah, and possibly we'll have a little chat to Paula as well about the kind of how she started her bookkeeping business and any way that she can recommend that you get some experience. Fantastic.
Right.
Thank you so much, Lucy.
Okay, so just while I try and sort out sharing my screen, I will just confirm. Amy said before, hopefully this is, you're seeing it now.
We can, yeah.
I want to get it onto the full screen. I can't. Oh, I can't see the right bit to do it. There we go. Excellent. So yeah, as Amy said, I am a past practicing member. I was fully qualified up to level 4. I ran a limited company. I then was a branch chair in Lincolnshire and on the advisory council with Paula. In April last year, I closed up my business and started working for ICB. So my role as Director of Professional Standards is to ensure that we are all working to a standard that would be expected of all professionals in this regulated sector. As Amy said, I help the compliance team ensure that all our members also understand what is required of them with all the anti-money laundering regulations. So obviously I understand that a vast majority of the people on this webinar are either students or have just got their membership, or maybe even that stage beforehand. So I'm going to just take you from the beginning and we'll look at what you need to do to be able to be eligible to apply for a practice license, how then you apply for a practice license, what information you'll need to have in place, then look a little bit further on as to what processes maybe you want to put in place at the beginning of your practice to make your life easier as you go along, and what you need to do when you're taking on clients to remain compliant. It's all very high level. We've got an awful lot of information on the website. At the end of my section, I'll just show you where that can be found on the website. But it's restricted view on the website. So until you have your practice license, that actually isn't going to be available to you, not all of it anyway. So it's worth making a note of where it is. When you get your practice license, we will also send you the link to it. So it's not a problem at all. So as Amy said, you need to have MICB to apply for a practice license. So you need to have done your level 2, level 3 exams. That is unless you are applying purely for a payroll license. Payroll is a slightly separate diploma that you could take away from your bookkeeping exams. And we can give you a license just to be a payroll bureau. So once you've done all your exams, you will be invited to upgrade to full member. So once you've done that, you can then contact ICB for an application form for your license. That application form will ask you to give us your details, your name, your address, your contact details. Again, it will ask your business name. It will ask that what services you want to offer your clients. We will do a check that you have the qualifications to offer those services. So if they are something that you want to offer in the future, we might just ask that you attest that you won't be doing those services for clients until you are qualified. We'll ask you for your staff if you're gonna have them from the outset, and then we insist that you have professional indemnity insurance up to a minimum cover of £50,000. We will expect to see DBS checks for all your booms. So that's your business owners, officers and managers. So if you're a limited company, that would be your shareholders over 25%, all your persons with significant control, all your directors. If you're just a sole trader, it would be you and anyone in your business, if you've got staff that play a really significant role. It will, if you're a partnership, be you and any partners. So we need that DBS check. It's a basic DBS check, so we don't see any spent convictions or cautions. It is purely if you have a criminal conviction, we can't offer a license. So that would be for all your booms. We also ask for a photo ID, and then our compliance team will give you a call, a Zoom call, and just do a verification check. Okay. We ask that you attest to not having been bankrupt, because we have to offer licenses to people that are fit and proper persons, and that there's no strict definition of fit and proper. But it's looking at those convictions, it's looking at whether you've been disqualified from being a director, whether you've got bankruptcy. Now, if you've been bankrupt or you're in a debt management plan, you've got an IVA in place, it doesn't necessarily mean you can't get a license. We will just ask you more in-depth questions about that. So we just need more detail. We allow any members with a practice license to use the ICB crest on their promotional material on their website. We do ask that we get to see it before it all goes live and just check that we're happy with its placement and how it's being used. It's a great tool to showing your professionalism, that you are part of an institute and a professional body. So we do encourage all members to use it. So once you've got your license, actually even as a student, as a member in practice, we ask that all our members abide by the 5 fundamental principles under the ethics code of integrity, objectivity, professional competence and due care, confidentiality and professional behaviour. These are all really simple things, and we'd expect people to do it anyway. As part of running a business, you want to be respected by your clients and by other professionals. So just to give a little bit more detail, for integrity, we're talking about being straightforward and honest in all your business relationships. objectivity, not compromising your professional or you're not compromising your professional judgments. And that might be due to bias or conflict of interest or the undue influence of others. Professional competence and due care, where we ask all our members to do annual continuing professional development, so your CPD, so attending webinars, making sure that your knowledge that you attain is kept up to date and in line with current professional standards. Confidentiality, you need to respect your clients' confidentiality. That's a given, really, isn't it? And your professional behaviour. So you need to comply with the relevant laws and regulations, avoid conduct that will discredit either yourself and or the profession itself. Then looking further along at your AML regulations, we provide all our members with an AML to-do list. This is a 21-point plan of all the elements of the regulations. So looking at nominating the right people into positions, the BBS that you'll already done, making sure you do your client due diligence on clients, which we'll move on to, AML training. You need to write a whole of practice risk assessment and a policy and procedure statement, and then get processes in place. So if we step back and look at the whole of practice risk assessment and policy and procedure statement, this is a big one that gets missed quite a bit. You need to know the risks that any clients of yours are bringing to your practice. So the risk of them doing money laundering and you not spotting it. So you're looking at the geographical areas that they're working in. If you're based in London, why is someone from Exeter asking you to do their bookkeeping? That's a bit of a red flag, because there are lots of bookkeepers between Exeter and London. Things like the services you're being offered, whether your clients are being obstructive in giving you information, all those risks that are flagged feed into this big picture of the risk that your business is put under. And then that policy and procedure document is how you mitigate those risks. So it could be doing more deeper level checks on your clients as you take them on, being that bit more observant of their transactions, asking more questions, meeting up with them more frequently. All those mitigations will help you identify if there's something going on that you need to report. We have on the website templates for all of these documents, and signpost you to those when you get your practice license. So don't worry about writing a brand new massive document at the moment. We will give you the tools to do that. Training, every person coming under the MLR regulations, the money laundering regulations, is required to do training, annual training, and to make a written record of that. So it might be that you watch our webinars, you read information on the web. There's nothing prescribed that you actually have to do, but you do need to make sure that you are keeping up to date with any new legislation and reminding yourself of what you need to do. Lots of the online verification tools have their own training that you can pay for. There are lots of training courses that are relatively cheap. ICB are in the process of actually developing one as well. And then I've said processes. So there are things that you would need to do to identify when bits of identification go out of date, being able to identify when clients move house, identify when a member or a client might become a politically exposed person. It's really worth having a think about what you will need to do later on in your business when you get really busy with all these new clients you're taking on. just to be able to keep an eye on what is happening and what you need to be aware of. So if you can put those processes in place early on, that's a really good tool. And again, we have webinars on all this content, which when you get your practice license would be worth coming back on and having a look at. So the requirements when you take on a client, this is, I guess, one of the other biggies. What do you need to know? You need to know your client. So it's really worth sitting down with them and having a really big chat. ICB require all its members in practice to put their clients on a piece of software called AML Online. It will ask you to input all the client's details and then answer a list of questions about them that are targeted towards the risks of money laundering. And at the end of it, it will calculate a risk for you, and they'll be high, low, or medium. It's worth, before you take on your first client, going on to AML Online and having a look at those questions, which will give you an idea of what you should be looking out for, and asking that client at that onboarding meeting to make sure, one, they're a client you want to take on, but two, that you've got the answers to the questions ready. And in practice, I found that sometimes I wouldn't ask all the questions, and not a single client was upset when I went back and asked them a follow-up question before taking them on. So again, that first meeting isn't the be-all and end-all, but the more prepared you are, the better it is, isn't it? So meet your client, take ID and proof of address. When I say meet your client, it doesn't actually have to be a physical in the room meeting. Zoom will do. The legislation does allow for you to actually not meet them and do online verification of using a trusted system. That's always worth bearing in mind, that that system is tending, and I believe there are some better ones where they do look at the photo as well, but they tend to look at the ID and just check that it's legitimate ID and it matches the address and all of that. It doesn't actually check that the person who has given you the ID is the owner of that ID. So eyeballing your client is a really good one. You also get those visual cues as well when you're asking them questions. Google this client. You never know what's going to come up. You want to know that they're trustworthy. You want to know all the things that they might not tell you. Again, in all of my time of running a business, I never did have a problem with a client, but I know others who have. Issue a letter of engagement to your client. It puts in place that safety net of both you and your client knowing what work is going to be done, the timescales, what to do if the relationship turns foul. It also, there's if you use the template that ICB have, there is a paragraph about the use of personal data, which is another AML requirement, that you tell them that you are retaining their ID and that it's for AML purposes. That is already in our letter of engagement, so we recommend you use our copy. And again, AML Online, as I said, all your clients need to go on the system. One, it helps you with your risk assessments, and two, it helps AML, it helps ICB fulfill their requirements as your supervisor. Okay, then finally, just a quick one on where to find more information. So I've just taken a screenshot of the website, and all our AML guidance is under resources and MLR, and down the right hand side of the page there's it's almost like chapters of a book that you can go to and find out more information about all of those. And actually you can scroll down and there are more, but just to give you an idea, those are there. You can see that that top one is AML webinars. They are a series of webinars that look over the to-do list and look at each section of it and give you a little 20-30 minute webinar on that section. So they're really useful webinars. We're currently putting together some bite-sized little videos which will look at even more kind of minutiae. If you've got a particular thing you want to know, there should be a little bite-sized video. And then the professional conduct regulations, these are the rules that we expect all our members to to abide by. And they're under membership, ethics and regulations. You can also see we've got the information on the right hand side about bankruptcy, our policies, the disciplinary sanctions. So if we happen to come along and inspect a working practice for AML breaches, or hopefully no breaches, but if we identify some breaches, there are sanctions that we have to put in place. And again, if you are not following the professional conduct regulations, there might be a financial sanction or another sanction put in place on you. So it's worth reading these documents. Well, it's worth it. We ask all our members to actually attest to having read them. So read them now, and then you know what to expect. I believe the professional conduct regulations are available to all students and members, Amy. Is that right? Yeah, Amy's nodding. So everyone can read those. It's just the AML section, the MLR, that is restricted access. So I don't know, I haven't been keeping an eye on the chat. I'll just have a quick look.
Can you tell us about your dog, Lucy?
My dog, she's barking, isn't she? I'm sorry. I've got a dog. She's a little black lab. She's 2 years old, and she doesn't like people being outside, which is really frustrating. I'd locked her in the kitchen, but my husband's obviously come home and let her out.
Wondering if anyone else has a dog or a cat. Any nice pets at home?
She really likes to sit on my lap like a little toddler while I try and work. She comes up a couple of times a day just to have a little break. So I'm just having a quick look through the questions. Oh, they keep moving. Suzanne, 2 dogs and 2 cats. That's hardcore. Amy, have you noticed any questions that are I've seen one. Should you ask the AML questions on that first initial meet, and where should we be meeting clients? Any tips with that? Samantha, Sam's a girl, Amy.
Yes, I saw that. Thanks, Samantha.
So I think it's best to gather as much information as you can on that first meeting. It's not entirely necessary. What the legislation says is that you must have done all your client due diligence before commencing a business relationship. So if you want to meet them 2-3 times before you start working with them, that's absolutely fine. That's not a problem, but you have to have verified their identity, done your risk assessment on them prior to starting work. Where to meet them? Again, one of the questions on AML Online is, have you been to your client's place of work? If you are comfortable going there on that first meeting, then do that. If you're not, then don't, meet somewhere neutral. I've met new prospective clients in a cafe. It's what works for you and that potential client. If you answer any of those questions on AML Online, if you answer no or I don't know, because sometimes you won't know all the answers first off, you've got questions on their financial transactions, things, you won't know that before you start working with them. The question about having met them, if you say, or having been to their place of work, if you say no, that's not a wrong answer. It will just affect that risk rating, and that's fine, because you balance your mitigation of risk based on the answers you've given and the knowledge you have. You've got to be sensible enough to try and get enough information to be happy with the way you're working, but you don't have to get it so you're answering yes or the most positive answer to all those questions. You just need to mitigate your risk. I think that hopefully answered that question. Can
I just add that with the working from home, sometimes, especially if it's you're a female, I think it's quite legitimate. You might not feel comfortable going to someone's workplace, and somebody's workplace could be their home. But just to underline what Lucy said, is that by saying, well, I haven't been to their workplace, It's not a black mark, but it's quite possible that that's not the most appropriate thing. But therefore, what would you do to mitigate risk? Well, perhaps you'd have a Zoom call, but have a longer Zoom call with them, or meet them on neutral ground, so you feel you've got a sense of what that person's like in their business. And I think when it comes to AML, it is important to realise, answer the questions honestly. Don't answer the questions to try and get the right answer. Mm-hmm. I have got high-risk clients on my portfolio because I have deemed them to be high risk. And in fact, there was one client I moved up to high risk because I Googled him and found out of an incident in his past, which I talked to him about, and I got the information that I felt meant it was I would deal with that person, but I would always keep him on high risk because of that incident in his past. So, it's I think you'd find, and I don't know, Lucy might have something to say, if you're continually moving somebody to a lower risk, that almost is worse. Because you say, I've got no problems.
Yeah, so as Paula says, our system calculates the risk, and now you can override that calculated risk and put in a lower one. You have to justify doing that. And as Paula said, actually, if you move all your clients from high risk to low risk, you're not getting rid of the risk. It's just not highlighted, and therefore you're unlikely to mitigate it. There is nothing wrong with having a portfolio of wholly high risk clients. And some of our members go out to find those high risk clients because they feel that they can charge them more, and it's a benefit to them. But it's not necessary, and it's no problem having a mixture of high and low risk or medium risk. And most of your clients, as you take them on, because they are unknown to you, will be calculated as high risk, and that is fine. You mitigate that risk. You know why, and you put things in place to protect yourself and protect them, and that's fine. And over time, they're likely to lower that risk because you review all your clients on at least an annual basis, more frequently if you know there are changes. You're reviewing all your documents, and the better you know a client, the lower risk they tend to become. Or if they're staying at high risk and there's no particular reason, so then you're not offering them high risk services or something like that, it might be worth looking at whether you are happy with that risk, or whether there is something there that is causing that risk that you need to investigate further. But yeah, you can lower those risks if you need to. Rob asked whether there's somewhere on the ICB site that lists what services can be offered under a practice license. Now, when you get your practice license, you will be added to our directory. And if you go on the directory, it will list all the services that you are qualified to offer your clients and come under your practice license. So that's probably the best place to look. If you've got specific questions about little niche areas, you can always ring in and ask us, and we'll let you know. So I think that answers that one.
There was a question about taking clients from different location. Sam put that in. I'm trying to.
There is no.
Segue over to my bit.
Yeah, I will pass on to you in a second, Paula. No problem with taking on clients in a different area. It is just an area of risk that has been identified because you've got to question why someone might be coming to you. Now, if they're family, or you've moved, or they're friends, or recommendations, then that would be the reason, and that would lower your risk. If they have come to you out of the blue, and there's 59 other bookkeeping companies between you and them locationally, you've got to question why. And it might be, I used an example in the Inspirator, that they've looked at your website and you offer a particular service or expertise in the area that they work in. So you've just got to look at why they've come to you. And on that note, Paula, do you want me to pass on to you?
Well, if everybody's happy with Lucy's answers, and I'll give her a chance to mute and put the dog back in the kitchen.
I will put the dog back in the kitchen, but I will be here to answer any questions.
If Amy's happy, I shall.
I'm so happy. I just am slightly sad that I have no pets at home with me. Not even any kids. My kids are at school, so I'm just completely alone. But yes, please crack on, and yeah, just keep your questions coming. Let's grill Paula. She knows everything at this stage, so she's been there, done that, and yeah.
Well, I believe that I wasn't one of the first to join the ICB. Well, I was probably in the first 60 or 70. I picked up my practice, did my qualifications and picked up my practice license in about 1998, which is depressing because that shows you how long I've been doing bookkeeping for, because that's how much I love it, actually, I should say. So I started with a small practice, which was just me, 2 small kids, wanting to, do some hours of work, and it was just a perfect mix. And I know some of the comments, there are people who've got kids and, want to get themselves back into work. So it was just me, sole trader, went out, picked up clients. Back then we used to do something really novel. We used to read the newspaper ads for where people were advertising for accounts administrators or people to help with accounting. I'm not sure they even post job adverts in newspapers anymore, but that's how I used to find my first clients, and that was the place to look. Nowadays I think there's often adverts on new websites, and of course the ICB will post adverts up for people looking for a bookkeeper. So it's with a bit of proactiveness and going out and having a look, you can find positions available. And don't worry if it says something like they need an administrator to employ someone. I so often rang companies and said, I can do this work for you, but I run my own business. Can I just come and talk to you about how I can help you? And there was only one occasion when the person I spoke to said, look, I really want to employ someone. And I said, well, I don't want to be employed. But otherwise, once you've got your foot through the door, I usually picked up that contract. So yes, going back to the newspapers, I had my soul, so it was just me and the kids. Get them to bed, get on the table or go. I actually often went into companies during the school hours. I prefer going into limited companies and doing their books. I had a small break for about 4 years because one of the businesses I was dealing with, the director, the owner wanted to sell it. And I actually, with his business partner, bought his business. So for 4 years, I ran a business. It was a logistics company. I was the financial director and the business partner was the managing director. So that was a really good experience because it taught me a lot about running a business, and it made me realize, as you set up as a bookkeeper, whether it's just yourself working in the school hours or whether you have aspirations of building an empire, you are running your own business, which is why it's really good to step back and have a look at business building and practice building as we are now, because it's not just for the big bookkeeping practices. A lot of the techniques you can use are equally valid if you want 2 clients as if you want 20 or 200. Personally, so that's kind of an introduction to me. I set up Empower Accounting, you can see behind me, in 2006. So that has now been running for a long time, and it's grown. I think we've got a team of 6, soon to be 7. I'm not quite sure I entirely meant it to mushroom out like this, but it's been a fun ride. And, we've got 70 or 80 clients. So there's a lot of experience. I'm used to the person who has a couple of clients working by herself, and now I've built a bigger practice. So hopefully some of the stuff I share will be of help to you, however you want to structure your practice. One of my first bits of advice would be to set goals. And I do believe firmly that what is success? Success is what you make of it. So if one of the goals you're setting up is, I want to, by this time next year, have at least 2 clients, and you achieve that, then that means you're successful. If one of your goals is, right, I've been a sole trader, I want to become a limited company and build my practice, and you manage it, then you are successful. So success is what you make of it. So for those people just starting, probably your definition of success will be to actually get a client. So, you know, don't feel that you have to build an empire to be a successful bookkeeper. You are successful with all the steps you take in building your practice. So do set goals. I've set goals for this year. I've got things I'm working on. There's loads of, you could buy books about how to set goals, but I usually keep it quite simple. It's getting more simple the older I get. It's like, oh, I have a good idea, I'll write it down, there's my goal. But I do take the time to write down some goals and review them regularly. It's not like set a goal and come back to it 5 years later, but do sit down and think about what it is you want to achieve. And that's really important, because that will help you decide what you're going to do about things like marketing, how you're going to set yourself up, how you're going to find your clients, and what clients you want. So there's some really key questions. I love the fact that the modern software is advertising heavily that as a business owner, you could do your own bookkeeping, because the amount of clients who come to me who have tried to do their own bookkeeping and got themselves in a bit of a mess. And actually, one of my jobs for this afternoon is to go through a client's books where he thought his administrator would know how to use Xero, and I've now had to write to him to explain that the bill for doing his self-assessment tax return is going to be about 3 times what it should have been, because I've got to basically go in and completely redo the bookkeeping. So don't feel under pressure about these software adverts. They're actually our friend, and do create more opportunities to get clients. There was another question I thought I'd tackle straight off. Are we supposed to finish in 5 minutes? Because that is just not going to happen. So
I would say carry on, and if anyone has to leave, that is okay. We will be sending the recording out afterwards. But
right. Well, I've got another meeting at 2, so I might just finish before. No, you know, just overrun a bit. Sonia said about getting experience. I actually sat on the other side of that, because I've brought bookkeepers into my practice who have newly qualified and wanted to get experience, and that's worked tremendously well. So if you are looking to get experience, it might be, well, first and foremost, I would say the best thing to do if you're in that situation is to join a branch, get to your local branch. And because the fact that the branches are still webinar based, you don't even have to go to your local branch. But if you can go to your local branch, you'll meet fellow bookkeepers, and you can ask them, you can ask them, especially if they're more established. I'm just starting off, could I just get some experience from you? And for me, that's been a very positive pathway, because there are a couple of times I've done it, the people have ended up actually working for me. So I have, I've had, and often that's the way I like it, actually. I like people to come. So if anybody is looking for experience, just look over my shoulder. That is a great way to get experience, and it's a very positive experience for both yourself and for myself as a business owner. The other place you can go to is accountants. Often accountants have bookkeeping departments. I have great relationships with the accountants I deal with. I often find their referrals are the cases they don't want to do. So they could be a little bit messy, or have some difficulties. So in terms of referrals from accountants, but the accountants I work with have been brilliant. And that's a really important thing to say, because often I hear bookkeepers say, aren't we in competition with accountants? And I don't feel that is the case at all. And I think Amy made the point earlier on, which was very important, which was, especially with the Making Tax Digital ITSA coming, there's going to be a lot of smaller business accountants have that they may not want to continue with. And I think that puts you in a very strong position to pick up clients. Just seeing that Keith vouch for what Paula is saying. So that's nice that somebody agrees with me. Doesn't often happen, especially at home, but it is a good way to pick up experience. So I've talked a little bit about setting goals. Another big question is, should I be a limited company? Should I be a sole trader? I'm very much of the keep it simple, stupid mentality. You can go either way. I know, Lucy, you started off as a sole trader, but as your business grew, you converted to a limited company. I started off as a sole trader. When I started my second business, I went as a limited company. There is more admin, there is more cost. You are beholden to Companies House as well as HMRC. But there might be a very good reason why you feel that that's the best vehicle for you to set up your business with. And it's very easy to register a company, but you just need to make sure, or you need to understand that there is more complexity. If you're a sole trader, you only have to fill in your self-assessment tax return, although now you might have to be filling it in, well, you will have to be filling it in 4 times a year. But it's a much simpler vehicle to start your business. And there's always the opportunity to convert to a limited company later if your business is growing. Of course, limited company means limited liability, which means you and the business are separate entities and your liability is limited to the company, not to you, which is one reason why people often change to a limited company. I also think for bigger businesses or bigger practices, it's a much, to me, it's a much easier vehicle to run the practice than carrying on with self-assessment. But unless there's a really good reason when you set out, I would say, you know, keep it simple. Set up sole trader, it gives you experience of doing that, but there's no reason why you can't change your setup as you go along. Now, the big question we're asked is, what should I call myself? I've called myself Empower Accounting. The reason behind that was to give the message that we empower business owners, whether that's by taking the bookkeeping off their shoulders or by helping them understand it a bit more. But the whole thing was about empowerment. A lot of people use initials, you know, that's fine, JTP, Bookkeeping Limited, whatever. Some other names I've got here that are good. We've got Kirsty's Counting, which is great. Team for bookkeeping, team for admin. So there's lots of that people say, oh, what should I use? But the question is, what works for you? What ideas have you got about how you want to represent your business as you set out? Now, I'm going to use the word branding. That sounds a very grown-up word, but it isn't really. But it's like, this is how you represent yourself. So my branding, one of the things you might pick up on straight away is it's very pink, including my fingernails. So I've used that colour, that magenta colour, to sort of define my branding. I'm hoping this is going to work. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully my website's come up. So again, we've got the pink theme there. And this was redeveloped about 2 years ago. I decided to redevelop my website in lockdown, thinking I'd have plenty of time to get on with it, and then suddenly had a spurt of growth in my business. I was literally tearing my hair out. And I hope it holds all the information people need to see, to understand a bit about the culture of our practice. ICB crest there, Amy. And a little bit more about us, just to see if we're the sort of bookkeeping practice that they would want to work with. I won't go through the whole thing. I have done some videos, which are up on YouTube. I must do some more with those actually, but that was just something I wanted to play with and do for my business. The other thing I think is very important, and which Amy usually mentions, is LinkedIn. So think about your branding. So you can use color schemes, you can use names, always have a logo. It's really important to have a logo, I believe. And then that will help you when you build your website or set up any social media device, any social media profile, that's what I mean to say. And the other thing I think really is important, and somebody's already mentioned that, is please do get business cards. I know it sounds, well, two things. I know it sounds a bit old-fashioned to carry business cards, but I go through my business cards so quickly, just handing them out to people. And two, stationery is coming back, actually, at the moment. More and more people are sending letters and advertising that way. So I don't have letterhead personally, but I think a website, which you don't have to go out to a developer. There are so many apps you can use to build a simple but good website and a business card are great ways to start getting yourself out in the market and finding clients, which is what it's all about. Social media is an ever-expanding universe. My teenage kids in their 20s keep introducing me to new social media platforms. I've only really just learned about TikTok. Don't think I can use that with business, but there's so much you can use. So think carefully about which ones are going to work best for you. Certainly the web page. I think LinkedIn is a great place to be. I have a Facebook page, which I'm not using so much, and Twitter, I should use more, let's just put it that way. But there are loads of ways of getting yourself out into the market. How do I stop sharing that? Okay, I've got myself confused of how I actually stop. I'm a bit worried if I click that, I'm going to close everything down.
Is it either at the bottom where the green icon is, or at the top where the green bit is? Maybe I could just...
Open share. I seem to have gone into the program. So I might have to leave you with my web page up, because let's pop that down there. Full share. Stop share. Sorry, that was me showing you exactly how techno I am. So for the person who was asking about technology, I would say don't come to me for advice on that one. Definitely go to a webinar the ICB run. So the thing about clients is, when you first start a practice, making sure you know what services you can offer so you stay within your professional conducts. Then you've got to decide, well, what sort of clients do I want to attract? When you first start out, you will say, well, I just want to attract any client. A client that breathes and pays me will do fine, thank you very much. But as you pick up a few clients, you begin to work out who you work well with. Do I want to work with limited companies? Do I want to work with people who just send me receipts? I would say in our day and age, you really want to work with clients who have some software, some app, Xero, Free Agent, Sage, QuickBooks. They're the biggest mentioned ones. And they are changing their product price points and bringing price points down in line with the fact that ITSA is coming. So, you know, I think that makes a big difference in what you can offer them in terms of how you work with them. But do you want to work in a specific area? Do you want to do pubs and restaurants? I would suggest not, after experiences I've had. Do you want to work with I don't know, shops? Or do you want to work with service companies? You know, is there a particular type of market or business that you'd like to do their bookkeeping for them? But often when you start, you know, you get out there, you put your material out there, you network, you use the ICB, you start picking up clients, and you'll get a feel for what you enjoy doing and what you don't enjoy doing. Talking about sort of getting out there, advertising. I tell you the best place to advertise is if you've got little town magazines, like in Paddock, we have the Town Cry. It comes out once a month, and it's just a little local magazine, or parish church magazines are good. Key thing about advertising is never just put one advert in, always do a run of adverts. So if you've got a small budget, put a small advert in, but let it run for a good 6 months, because somebody might spot it at one point and then think 2 or 3 months later, oh, I could really do with the services of that Empire Accounting. And if you've only done one advert, it's unlikely they've kept the magazine. So advertising is one way forward. Local business associations, again, we've got them here. I'm the treasurer of my local one, but that immediately will put you in touch with other businesses and give you a chance to introduce yourself on their Facebook pages or their web pages. We've talked about local accountants, networking, we've talked about ICB branches, but there are always local networking groups. I did belong to one which was B2B. Actually, I did very well out of it, and it was at lockdown, so it was a case of Zooming rather than having to get the car and go somewhere. But they work for some people, they don't work for others, but it's another way of just getting the message out about who you are and what you do. My view is you just talk, babble about your business is what I call it. Wherever you go anywhere, babble about your business. I remember I went out for lunch with family and there were some friends there, and I met this guy and he ran a business. And I said, oh, I'm a bookkeeper. And he said, oh, no, we're fine. We don't need anything done. Within 5 minutes, the guy was complaining about the fact they never got invoices out in time. So it's like, just don't be embarrassed. Just talk about what you do. Hang cards out. And it's amazing what can come back to you from doing that. Be confident, because you should be proud of what you're doing and proud of your business. So it's really to getting the message out. I remember years and years and years ago, I went to an Inspire meeting, and this guy had started his business, and he said, well, I'll put an advert in the yellow pages, but nobody's rung me. Okay, well, they're not going to, because it's the energy you put into it, it's the energy you take out there, which is what is going to bring clients back to you. I could go into pricing. That's another half an hour of tutorial notes, but to keep it simple, what I say is, you have to know your worth and understand your worth. You're an ICB qualified bookkeeper. You've taken qualifications. You've worked hard to get the badge. You know you're going to be regulated for money laundering. So you are worth a great deal, and you should reflect that in your prices. I have just put my prices up this year. I haven't done it for a couple of years, but I managed to get in there just before the doom and gloom messages hit the papers. So don't underestimate your value. I can't tell you what to charge. Bookkeepers charging £12. I think 25. If you're getting clients of your own, 25 is probably the minimum. If you're going to be working with another bookkeeper, of course you're going to get less than that, because they're taking on the risk of the clients, but it is giving you experience, and then you can negotiate those rates if you're working for a bigger practice. But please don't discount. Don't discount. The only thing I do is sometimes, if it's like I've got 2 or 3 really big clients, that I might drop the rate a little bit, because the amount of earnings from it is going to be far bigger than anybody else. So that's about the only thing I do. But take a deep breath, put your quote out there, and you'll be surprised at what people accept. And I'll make this my last point. If somebody does complain about your rate, or say, oh, that's a bit much, you have to think, do I really want them as one of my clients? Because often if somebody starts nitpicking about the rate at the very start, you find that they turn into perhaps a more difficult client and nitpick about everything else. So if you feel like you're being pushed into a corner at the very start, you might want to say to yourself, is this a person who I really want as a client? I think in a whirlwind fashion, that's covered pretty much of what I'd say. I know a lot of it was quite high level. We haven't dipped in and explored things like marketing to a greater level, but I hope it's given you some points, given you a potential roadmap of how to get started, or if you're already up and running a business, how to take your business forward in terms of what you want to get from it. And remember one thing, and this is the last point I'll make. I think I said that about 10 points ago, so I do apologize. Your business needs to fit in with your life goals. I hear a lot of people at the moment saying, I'm time poor. So yes, sometimes you're going to get pushed. And like last year, I was very, very pushed in my business because it grew by 35%. But you can change that by saying, what is my work-life balance? Because if you get that right, it keeps you energized, it keeps you excited about your business, and that means your business, you will just go right out to your clients with the right attitude. So yeah, good luck to everybody. Be bold. I saw a comment, somebody said, thank you, it's encouraged me to take the step. Be bold. Got the ICB behind you, and there is plenty of work out there. I'm sure you will find some lovely clients, and that's another joy. Actually, you do make friends with, well, not all your clients, but you do meet some really interesting people and interesting businesses, and you do pick up friends as well. The relationship part of it is great. So, but don't let the relationship part of it override the checking on the AML part of it. Yeah, there you go. Lisa's going, thank God she said that. She's just rescued that. Well done for her. So thanks for your time and good luck.
Yeah, wonderful words, Paula. That was so nice, really informative, but also very inspiring as well. And thank you, everybody, for posting in the chat that you think that too. I hope you found this useful. I would just reiterate, do please contact ICB if you want to chat. We have real people on the phone, and they will be there to answer your questions. Pop us an email, come to a branch meeting if you're a student or a member already. And otherwise, everybody, whether they are students, members, or have never even heard of ICB, you're all welcome to book tickets for the Bookkeepers Summit, which I know it's not until November, but knowing life, it will just it will be here before you know it. So the Bookkeepers Summit is going to be online and in person. So if you can get to London, come see us in person, and you'll get to go to the exhibition and meet the ICB team and other members. But if you can only make it online, that's just as brilliant as well. So there's online content available too. I would just, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pop on the screen here if you can see that. Do make friends with us on LinkedIn. If you can't wait for the Bookkeeper Summit, there's Paula, myself, and Lucy there. And we will be sending you a follow-up email with a recording of the slides. I think we've got a little printout with some, to-do list of stuff that you can be thinking about on your journey towards becoming a practicing bookkeeper. And yeah, to reiterate what Paula said, very best of luck with it. Any final words, Lucy?
No, I think just don't be scared. Any questions, come and ask us. Legislation is a big, important thing, but we have all the information and guidance, and we will help you.
We will help you. Yeah. Very best of luck with it. Don't be a stranger. Have a wonderful day.